Thank you very much for being here. I suspect you want me to start right at the issue of the resignation of the dual citizens, because that's the most topical issue today. You'd recall that a few days ago, Harman, I don't know if he's a Minister Harman now or Mr. Harman, but let's say Mr. Harman indicated that they will be attending Parliament, including the dual citizens, and when confronted with a question that I had accused them of being duplicitous, he said that the leader of the opposition has accused us of lots of things that he himself is guilty of. Well, that's not one that I'm guilty of. I'm not a dual citizen. But we had argued that this is the group that has sought to invalidate Charan Das's vote on the basis that he was a dual citizen, and yet had arrogantly, that is Harman and Amna Ali, had arrogantly declared that the dual citizens will be attending the sitting of the National Assembly on on 11th of this month, April 11th. So we pointed out the duplicity. On one hand, you were going to attend the Parliament and vote in the Parliament and have those votes counted. And then on the other hand, you're seeking to invalidate the vote of Charan Das on that the basis that he's a dual citizen. I think after we pointed this out, and not only because of that, but because of the general outcry in the country about their dishonest actions, when they claim that we must fully respect the ruling of the Court of Appeal, and that the government is now legal, but refuse to respect the ruling of not just the lower court, the High Court, and the Court of Appeal in relation to dual citizens. So they were caught in a dilemma, and I think they're trying to get out of that dilemma. And there is quite a bit of confusion in this matter because they're not sincere about it. And the lack of sincerity and the lack of honesty by this government are reflected in the 3 press releases that they issued in just 2 days. Yesterday, we saw 2 press releases coming out of the government boldly declaring that the president had accepted the resignation of the MPs. And then we've seen another press release today, and they all seem contradictory. Not only, as I said, do they reflect the dishonesty in this government, but it is hopelessly, shamefully incompetent that they cannot get their story right. This cabal is bad for Guyana. They're so incompetent that they cannot even address a simple matter coherently. So the first press release, short one, could have been a longer one, but rushed and said, President David Granger has received and accepted the resignation of all coalition members of Parliament who are holders of dual citizenship. These members will not be returning to Parliament, therefore, when it reconvenes on April 11, 2019. That's the first press release. So the whole country says, well, they have resigned clearly their ministerial portfolio because, as was pointed out, they can only resign to the speaker. But so when they said that they resign here, everyone in Guyana thought that they had resigned as ministers. Then yesterday afternoon, we got a press release clarifying the first press release, and it says the MPs who've resigned are Carl Greenidge, Joe Harman, Dominic Gaskin, and Dr. Rupert Roopnarine, who held ministerial portfolios respectively for, and it listed the sectors, who held. So that meant they're gone, they're done. And it says further, for the ensuing period, as is the usual practice, these portfolios will now be held by sitting members of cabinet who previously acted for these ministers on leave or out of the jurisdiction. So they're gone. Other members of the cabinet will now hold their portfolios. Cabinet thanks the 4 resigned MPs. Now they're gone back to the MPs. So that's yesterday afternoon. And then this morning, we saw that their resignations, and I'm just quoting a section, I don't want to read back the whole thing, you all have it. Their resignations will not take immediate effect immediately, as there are several processes which have to be applied. And then it lays out what should happen. So one section that is critical and highlighted here in the press release, it says, as such, the 4 ministers, Mr. Carl Greenidge, Mr. Joseph Harman, Mr. Dominic Gaskin, and Dr. Rupert Roopnarine, will remain ministers until the aforementioned processes are completed. So we heard yesterday that 4 of them had resigned, that their portfolios would now be held by other ministers, that they were thanked as ministers, and today the government thanked them as ministers. And today we are hearing that they will remain as ministers until all the processes are completed. What process, apart from a resignation to the president, is required for you to resign as a minister? As member of parliament, you have to send a letter to the speaker. And how long does it take to write the letter to the speaker? It could be done immediately. In the time that they took to draft this press release, they could have done that. But clearly these people think that Guyanese are fools, that we will buy this garbage that they shove at us every single day, and we will not recognize that they are taking us for a ride. But I have great faith in the people of this country that they will recognize what is going on here. And so this is another example of the duplicitous behavior of this government. I've asked a lot of people, since I asked about synonyms to duplicity, have been calling me and sending things and WhatsApping me the dictionary and stuff. And some of the things are like dishonesty, deception, trickery, skullduggery, treachery, shadiness. These are all words associated with this government. All words associated. And the list is longer. The Guyanese have now found a quiz, so they keep sending to my office all of this stuff about the duplicity. But every single one of the things I mentioned and more, we now have in full bloom in this government. It's full bloom, it's all of these things. This is what's happening. So when they resign, guess what will happen now? the 4 ministers would resign, and I think they gave a hint of it somewhere in one of the press releases when they said that they can find other jobs for them in the government. So guess what the taxpayers of Guyana will have to do now? Carry another 4 useless, possibly fossils, from the government as ministers now. And then these 4 who have departed, we have to now find the taxpayers jobs for them to carry them to. And so all their vehicles and their perks, I suspect, would be preserved. And then we have to pay for the vehicles and perks and salaries for another set. So this is what we're faced with today. This is what with this government. So that's the first issue that I wanted to address. The second matter has to do with corruption in this government. We have grave concerns, and I've been speaking about this for quite a while now, based on the numbers of people that we see passing through Guyana. The COPA figures from in October last year to March of this year showed that over 3,800 Haitians came through Guyana or are in Guyana only for that short period. There are Venezuelans here, there are people from other parts of the world. And we believe that there is a people smuggling racket going on. So a lot of the people who come here, some are looking for work, and that's a big concern for many Guyanese who come here too, because apparently a lot of them are prepared to work for significantly smaller sums of money. I had a group of people from Diamond who visited me. These are young guys, some of them Rasta people, and they said to me that they are willing to work now for $10,000 a week, some of the people who are coming here. And so their people are now hiring them, and they're being displaced from their jobs. But that apart, we believe that the bulk of the people are being smuggled through Guyana. And that there is a lot of, as I pointed out, that within the Department of Citizenship in the Ministry of the Presidency, there's an enormous cesspool of corruption. A cesspool of corruption. They're part of this whole people smuggling racket that's going on. And so we have to be, others believe that people are giving fake documents to influence any potential registration process we have. So this matter has not really been picked up a lot by the media and many others. We talk about it a lot. But Gail Teixeira and some others have been doing a bit of research, so they showed me just 2 examples, which should be evident to most Guyanese, about what could be. It's just at the tiny tip of the iceberg, because they have lots of examples of this. Just the tiny tip of the iceberg about this deep, dark hole of corruption that resides in the Ministry of the Presidency and the Department of Citizenship. So here you have the Chronicle on the 5th of February, this individual here. And the notice is hereby given. This is about the naturalization. He's going to get citizenship. So notice is hereby given that Gabriel St. Just of Burma, Maikoni, Lot 56, East Coast, Demerara, is applying to the Minister for Naturalization. Here. Then the same picture appears on February 7th, 2019, and we noticed that only Chronicle carries these ads. So the same, but now, and the same person again, but now the person's name has shifted from St. Juice to Daniel Garcia Fares of 10 Norton Street Cemetery Road, Georgetown. So the same individual, two different names on two different dates in the same newspapers and two different addresses. That's what we have here. I will share this out so you can pass this around. So you can just see this as indicated. Then here we have on March 29th, 2019, notice is hereby given that Jaime Beltran Abreu of Lot 39, Owen Street, Kitty, Georgetown, is applied to the Minister for Citizenship. And then on March 27, 2 days prior to that, the same individual was Rubesh Abdus of Lot 0, Tabatinga, Letem Region 9. The same person. This will be passed around to you. But what is interesting is that this person, then there's on March 29 too, we have Julio Antonio Beltran from the same address as this one, the Jaime Beltran Abreu, Lot 39, Owen Street, Kitty, applying for citizenship too, to the minister. So you will get all of these. I'll pass this around so you can take copies of this. It's just the tip of the iceberg. They found hundreds of, well, not hundreds, but several other examples. But that cannot be mistakes. That cannot be mistakes. This is a pattern, and it's happening right before our eyes in Chronicle, and they believe that people are not, because most of us don't pay attention to this issue. And so we are very, very concerned. This is a large-scale corruption and a racket to give out. There may be hundreds of people, maybe thousands of people who have been getting citizenship in Guyana, and they're either paying for it or they're brought in here for other reasons that we don't know of. So it is something that we will be following up on seriously. The third issue is that the one about house-to-house registration. So the government is, now that the hearing of the appeal before the CCJ is set for March 8 to 10, May 8 to 10, then I think the Congress Place has encouraged its 3 commissioners there, plus the chairman, to push the house-to-house registration activity, or to initiate it so that it would be a fait accompli by the time the CCJ rules. And they're hoping that should that decision go against them, then they can argue that the house-to-house registration is in progress. And notwithstanding the fact that they would be illegal from March 21st if that ruling goes against them, and that they should have held elections in 3 months, they would want to use the house-to-house registration as an excuse to delay the elections for another 8 months or so, until next year, November or late or early into 2020. So that's a very transparent tactic. Every Guyanese knows this, that they're using the people at GCOM to do that. I noticed the president said that he has found the list now bloated. This is the same president, and that he doesn't want to disenfranchise people. And this is the same president that found the existing list. This list is still, no, it's valid? Yes, it's still valid, April 30th, up to April 30th. This list, that same list, he didn't have a word to say about it when we went to local government elections. It wasn't bloated at that time. So let me make it clear. Last week, I think I explained about my position with the Carter Center when there was a suggestion that we could remove people who had traveled abroad. And I expressed concerns about the removal of people from the voters list for convenience and the consequences of doing that, because it would be illegal, that this government could agree to it and then later turn around and challenge it, as they did with the Esther Pereira case, when they agreed to have the ID, voters ID, both parties agreed to that, and we used it in the elections, and then after the elections they turned around and claimed that the use of the ID was not required as part of our Constitution, and therefore they got the elections vitiated, and we lost 2 years of that term. So they're dishonest, and we do not want to do anything that will be unconstitutional now, so that will give them grounds in the future when they're in opposition to challenge the government. So we made it clear that now house-to-house registration, and I think we have signaled that we intend to pursue this matter in the courts if they go ahead with house-to-house registration. Not because we want fraudulent people on the list. Not because we want to disenfranchise Guyanese. In fact, I'll explain all of those things, because that's what the propaganda is out there. But we want to preserve people's right to vote, preserve their right to vote. This government seems to want to disenfranchise people, to throw them off. Even if you're gone abroad for a short period, they can then knock you off the list. So by the time you come home, you're not on the list, you can't vote. Or the students who are abroad, etc., can't come home to vote. So that's their aim, we believe. Now, if you go to there are two articles in the Constitution, Article 59 and 159. And I would urge that you read these articles carefully, because I can read them out to you now, but I'm sure that people will do so at a later date. But none of these articles say that you have to be domiciled to be registered or to vote, or to be resident to be registered or vote. So there is no domicile or residency requirement for you to be registered or to vote. It says Guyanese who have attained the age of 18 years, they're eligible to vote. And so just like how the dual citizenship thing was kept in the parliament for a very long time and not challenged in the court, but was now deemed to be dual citizens. For 30 years we did that, or more, even longer, throughout our history. And now that there is a ruling of the court on this matter, which says that dual citizens are ineligible to be members of parliament, so too we have to test this issue, because we're not going to leave it open later for someone to come and vitiate the elections on the basis that what was done was unconstitutional. It has to be tested. So APNU has gone on to claim that young people will be disenfranchised. That's pure nonsense, as we know. They've been captured through continuous registration. They're on the National Register. Most of them will be extracted from the National Register to the official list of electors. That's clear, once they attain the age of 18. Two, that there could be a period of claims and objection. A period of claims and objection where additional people who are not on the list can go and make a claim or object to anyone who is on the list. So an opportunity still may exist for people to be able to, because if the list expires on April 30th, you'll have to go through that claims and objection period. An opportunity for those who are not registered to get registered or to remove people. Thirdly, dead people can be removed off the list by GCOM following a transparent process. So these are all, and then fourthly, I argued, and many people, I even put a proposal to the president as to how we can strengthen polling the activities, because polling day activities are critical. You can have anyone on the list, but if they can't vote, because in every polling place there's a folio with a photo of the person, party agents, the presiding officers, we can put in an observer, we can hire 2 other persons to oversee that people don't vote, then nobody who is not supposed to vote can vote, even if they're on the list. And by the way, they talk about bloated lists, which they didn't complain about before. I would urge you to go to the International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance, Google that, and check the population, check the stats for these countries. In 2016, the total population, the population on the register was in Jamaica, 61% of the total population. For Trinidad and Tobago, in 2015, it was 89.93, nearly 90% of the population, total population, to the vote those on the register. In Barbados, it was in 2018, 87.28%. In Guyana in 2015, 77.6%. In St. Vincent in 2015, 87.24%. Dominica in 2014, 96.04%. St. Lucia, 2016, when they have all those dates, they had elections. 98.43% in St. Lucia. These are the total population compared to those on the percentage on the voters list. So once you have continuous registration that's provided for by law, then you will have these numbers. So when they say this is something new, and I would urge people to look at this, to go, and this is an international website, and you can get this information there to see if they claim that we are bloated, when all those countries would have super bloated lists, because they nearly have 100%, some of them, of the total population on the register. It doesn't mean that people get to vote, only those who are eligible, and especially if you can't remove those who have migrated. So I would urge people to do that. Do not fall prey to this nonsense that it's so altruistic. They love you so much, they want a new register now. The new House to House is designed to delay elections, to probably get some of these people that they're giving citizenship to now to register. That could be the plan. And thirdly, because in the last 2 cycles of registration, in many APNU strongholds, people are just totally fed up with them. They did not go to get registered in the continuous registration cycle. They just didn't show up. So this house-to-house registration, they want to make it mandatory. And so now GCOM is threatening to lock you up and fine you if you don't go to register. This is desperation because people are not going to go in many of these areas that APNU, when APNU wants to walk around and say to them, go get registered now, they simply wouldn't show up because of the loss of jobs, the deterioration in life, etc. So GCOM now, their boys at GCOM want to make this, you can be fined and jailed for not doing this, for not getting registered. So there's all a pattern playing out here, and I hope that Guyanese can see what is going on. The government continues to spend large sums of money. We heard that the Buju Banton show, we're glad Buju Banton is coming, but they're pumping a ton of money into this, hoping to mislead young people. No doubt they would have all these slogans: Vision 2040, jobs for everyone, housing for everyone, taking government to people. So the too legit to quit one that they spend a ton of money on, but they're quiet about it, government money or money, that was a failure at Parade Ground. Somebody told me they're taking it to Bartica and Anna Regina and Linden and New Amsterdam. These clearly to campaign using state funds and mislead young people again, to bring them with a few artists to listen to the likes of Christopher Jones and James Bond. What are they going to tell them about jobs or housing, etc.? Nothing. They can't say a single thing about it. So I want to urge people, young people particularly, to do what happened here. Send them a strong message that we are not for sale because, as Basil Williams said on the PNC hierarchy, all they need to get back the young people is to bring in a couple of artists and, and hold a couple of concerts. That's not going to work this time around. Yeah, young people are conscious what's going on. I heard they've sent out a request for supplementary provision. In fact, we're only 3 months in the year, but they want to pass supplementary budgets for many of the ministries. So they've sent out a request for that because they've been busy spending the state resources. There are lots of projects going on around from the Ministry of what they call public infrastructure, especially in the hinterland. Every one of these projects has a big kickback. If you see a project for $100 million there, you try to talk to the contractor. And if they would tell you anonymously how much they had to pay in that ministry or in other ministries if they're getting contracts. They'd come and tell you, confess to you, but they have to get the work. They say if they don't pay, they can't get it. That is what is happening almost everywhere. So now the new ad in today's paper, in all the papers, look at this one, wasting our money again. Vision 2040. So the Vision 2040 will create jobs, protect lives, and promote a united Ghana. We got to wait till 2040 to get the jobs. I'll be gone by then. I'll be gone, totally gone by then, and many others, here. We got to wait till 2040. And this bunch over there will be gone too. The same ones who are making these promises now, they'll definitely be gone too. Be gone. They want us to wait, young people. Oh, 2040 will create jobs and protect lives. They're waiting to protect our lives in 2040. Busy selling us out all the time, our patrimony through these bad negotiations, giving away our oil resources for practically nothing. Every contract, we seem to be at a disadvantage. And a green Guyana is the best path to achieving a good life for all Guyanese. They're still with this nonsensical rhetoric. And how much of our money, when will we put a stop to this? It's only elections, by the way, because they'll never stop. Every day they're wasting money with these senseless ads that mean nothing to ordinary people who are struggling to feed their family, or who have lost their jobs, or young people looking for jobs, or who go to the hospital and see somebody died. People go in there healthy, they take their children or their mothers and go in there, and they go in healthy and walk. They have to go and get their bodies from the hospital without any explanation, whilst the minister is busy launching a boat, ambulance at the Square of the Revolution for Region 10. Here it's being launched in Georgetown for the PR opportunity, and now naming it Lady V too. Lady Volda. So that is it, Lady V. That's what I see. It's a pun on the word. We had David G, now we have Lady V. That is what is happening with this government. You ever seen 12 and a half years I've been president, I will never launch anything called BJ or something like that. 12 and a half years as president, nothing with my name on it. We built the convention center, a ton of things. I can list all of the things, the Marriott, etc. And all of the big projects. You ever seen that? These people have a megalomania, a fetish for all this PR. So why launch this in the Square of the Revolution? Take it to, if it's for Region 10, launch it in the river. But it's Lady V has to be launched here now for the show. They're working, busy working, whilst the hospitals are falling apart. We can't get any proper word about what's going on in Region 1 from the Reunion Manganese plant, which, by the way, we signed that agreement to all the jobs there coming because of the PP. So this is what we have now in government. So I deal with one other issue, and then you get a chance to ask me questions. So Nagamutu has reappeared now, future of hope and happiness. He forgot to add 2040. So Nagamutu says, oh, we're doing bad, the opposition is criticizing us, etc. And that they're selling now separate housing units are up for sale as low as $4 million. So this is in his thing. I want to know where they're selling these housing units for $4 million and how many they have. I don't know where these housing units that they're selling for $4 million are located now, that they're built, and how many they have. I believe it's a lie. I believe it's a lie. They write these irresponsible things. So then Dream Homes. Dream Homes is a new thing. Almost 30,000 persons are known to have abandoned their house lots. Not abandoned their house lots. They had their house lots. They're waiting to get money to build, many of them. You do have a few who might have cheated the system or so and gotten an extra lot when they should not be ineligible if they had a home already. There are a few of those. But there are many people who are just waiting to build. And they don't want to build now because it's harder. Many of them have lost their jobs, etc. Over time, people build. So they're taking back these, and they said that they're using these 30,000 that the PPP left, taking back and reallocating. There is one acceptance. Thank you, Kwame. There is an acceptance of this issue, that this government has not produced a single new house lot in 4 years in government. Trust me, we've done it before. We'll do 8,000 to 10,000 per year. In 4 years, they have not done one. They have not done one, and we'll do 8,000 to 10,000 new house lots per year. They don't have house lots to distribute. So Moses Nagamotu is again spinning a lie. All of these outreaches and stuff like that, if somebody barely succeeds to get a house lot, they're getting it from in a scheme that the PPP developed. In a scheme that the PPP developed. Nothing to do with this government or its own. But I want to, since we're talking about housing, I had a visit from a person here in desperation. He is from Victoria Village on the east coast of Demerara. And this is an ordinary contractor, and he has several others who work for him. Not a contractor. This is a guy from the village who has been working very hard. And Mr. Patterson, and Godfrey Yearwood, the husband of the Minister of Housing, who is responsible for housing, got several contracts to build some of these houses. Several. So he brought me the documents and stuff like that. The minister husband, let me repeat, got a contract to build several of their houses, Mr. Godfrey Yearwood. And the gentleman, Mr. Yearwood, then subcontracted these guys from the villages to do their work and then refused to pay them. Refused to pay them so far for the work done. This is what. So he came here and he showed me 4 times he wrote President Granger. 2014, this was the 6th month in 2014. No, not 2014, 2018 rather. 2018, he wrote President Granger in June 2018. In May 2018 again, got a response. On October in 2018, he got another response from President Granger, from the secretary, an acknowledgement of the issue. And then March 2019. 4 times he addressed the matter, and 4 acknowledgements of his complaint. And until now, he can't get it. Over a year of trying. 4 acknowledgements. He sought help from the president, and no help has been given. And no one. Now he can't pay his workers from the village of Victoria. They're harassing him because the minister's husband is refusing to pay him for contract that he got in a ministry that his wife runs. This is, and Nagamotu writes this nonsense about dream homes. What about his dream and the family that he's bankrupt? He's going bankrupt, and all the others who are working. What about their dreams? Dream homes are built on land developed by the PPP, and lying about this 4 million housing units available to people. This is what we get from this government. So you judge for yourselves what is happening now. Nobody will get any help from this elitist government. If you're a general person, you don't have connections, or you're not a friend of a minister or one of their family, you're not going to get any help. They will come and do the shows, taking government to people, a concert for you once in a while, etc. But you're not going to get anything much from them. We're on a path, we're drifting. The president has gone abroad again now. The prime minister is practically missing. The ministers are busy doing campaign things or hustling. Where are we going as a country? In the meantime, we're losing jobs, we're losing welfare, more people are dying in our streets, in our hospitals, and in our communities. So now you have.
News. I know you said you were not going to be attending any sitting of Parliament before the CCJ rules, but when will your three dual citizenship MPs resign? When will they start the process of renouncing their citizenship? And have you heard from Mr. Anamaya? I haven't heard you.
Yes. So last week, after my press conference, they all wrote to the representative of the list, who's Ramatar, indicating that they will do so. I suspect by next week, they would all submit letters to the Speaker. Adrian Anamaya will not renounce. He has explained to me that there are family obligations and other issues, so he will not renounce because of those commitments he has to his family and others. But Odinga Lumumba and Gail Teixeira will renounce. Gail Teixeira has shown me the document. She has filed all the requisite papers, received an acknowledgement already, and will be awaiting the Canadian authorities' decision on the matter for an expedited renunciation, and Odinga will do the same shortly.
So Odinga Lumumba hasn't started?
No, he has not as yet.
And just for clarity, Mr. Anamaya, what does he have? U.S. citizenship?
I think it's U.S.
Mr. Jagdeo, I am trying to get your initial comment on the resignations of the ministers. You don't think the resignation is genuine at all? That is your take on it?
But you saw what they said.
I saw what they say, but I'm asking...
Because you judge for yourself. On one day they say, we thank you very much for your service. We thank those ministers who held this portfolio, and ministers now who had acted in these positions in the past will take over those portfolios as of now. A day later, not a day later, 10 hours later, they're saying the minister's resignation will not take effect. They're in full control of their ministries.
How do you plan to challenge this? I saw Vanessa indicating that there's a list with more names or something like that. How do you intend to challenge this, either with the ministry or the police? And secondly, sir, could you say if your trip this weekend is in your official capacity and if it's to raise any issues with what is going on with house to house and the ruling and so on?
My trip?
Well, I noticed you moved up your press conference.
Okay, all right.
I can only assume.
Assume that, yeah, well, you have intelligence. Yes, I'll be out the country. I'll be out the country. And whenever you go out the country, you do politics too. Like, I'm a politician.
I just
So,
want to know if it's in an official capacity to raise some of the issues you've listed here and you've been speaking about.
yeah, I will definitely raise these issues wherever I go. Wherever I go. And so that shouldn't be a secret with me by now. I'll be in Trinidad this weekend and then subsequently in the U.S. I've not traveled. You didn't worry about me. I haven't traveled over a year now. It's the longest in my entire life, I think. I haven't traveled.
I just want to
Over a year.
Are you going to raise this in some other forum?
I've already raised it at a few fora, and I hope that the IOM that has a presence here is looking at it. You have to go and look at the integrity of the entire system, about what this so-called digitization of our records. It now is very suspect, the digitization of our records, because you can input anything that is not real. So say you're digitizing from a file, and the file comes in here with like names of people, their birth dates and all of that, their characteristic, and you're digitizing it. You can easily create something, a source document, a fake one, and then put it in the digital records. And once you get it into the digital records of the country, and we use that in the future, then suddenly that person you can change your identity, you can change your record, you can change your date of birth, you can add people there who never were citizens. It brings into question the integrity of our passport. I remember when those countries, some countries in the Caribbean, who were doing this economic citizenship issue, where they were giving out economic citizenship. You invest certain money and you get a passport. The international community started bringing sanctions on them because they started questioning the use of those passports from those countries by ordinary people, like in this case, Guyanese. So they'll put at risk our passport. When we go abroad now, we will now be faced with enhanced scrutiny across the region, because if the people in the region and in the US and other places feel that our passports are porous and anyone can get a passport, a person coming from Bangladesh or Brazil or Haiti or DR or wherever else can easily get a passport and then use that to travel on, a Guyanese passport, then they will start paying more attention to those of us who travel using Guyanese passport. So I anticipate once this gets out, we will see more scrutiny at all the borders wherever we land, whenever we land, because then they would question the integrity of our documents. And that is what Felix is doing, putting at risk now.
If I could just clarify one thing from Zox's question, it's only the 3 members of parliament
Yes.
on your side that has to do with the
Yes.
decision.
I mean, I don't think I understand it. Sir, the legitimate concert you spoke about, you said that this is not an example of wasting tax dollars and so. But from my information, this concert was sponsored by Banks, DIH, and Anson McCall.
Really? So they sponsored a political concert? Banks, this concert was a political concert. It was too legit to quit. So, secondly, all the speakers were identified with APNU and AFC. In fact, clearly so, their entire message. I'll be surprised if Banks and Ansa McCall have now been endorsing the political event. So if that is so, that opens up a new front. And secondly,
What is the new front?
the new front is that the companies are publicly going to support political events to large sums of money. I'm going to then approach Banks DIH to do a concert for the PYO.
Haven't you ever gotten sponsorship from those?
No, we have not gotten that kind of sponsorship. Maybe a couple of cases of water and stuff like that.
Okay.
But that's one. And secondly, trust me, public funds were involved. I don't know where your information came from, but my information says that public funds were used. And this is...
Your information is purely public funds.
Right. And so now, if you are saying that this activity was funded by Ansa McCall and Banks DIH, then I wonder who collected the public funds. Because if we have to pay for the music set, and I collect $1 million from the government to pay for the music set. And as you said, banks pays for it. Then who got the $1 million now from the government? It wasn't you. I know it wasn't you. I know it wasn't you. But we now need to check, because this might be, and someone said to me, a lot of these events are used to siphon funds from the government. They get donations from people, and then they double count. You know, they use the money, they say to the government, put up an invoice, or from the ministry, from some fund, they take the money saying, look, we have to pay for all these things, but they get them donated, and then they pocket the money. And lots of these events are done that way. Or when they're organizing preparation of plays. So I suspect the name tags that we saw in front of Harman. By the way, he has to change his name tag now, not Minister of State anymore. I don't know what will happen, but and then we'll have to pay another $50,000 to change the name tag. So people get money from all these things, their friends and cronies.
Okay, so the other questions. I read a report from the U.S. research professor, Dr. Evan Ellis. He said that he recently traveled to Guyana, that was in February, and he met with you and some other officials. According to him, PPP officials expressed a fear or somewhat concern about the relationship being enjoyed by between the government and the United States. Is this accurate?
No, he met with lots of PPP officials, so I don't know about what everyone said. We don't have a police state. But I know in my meeting with him, I made it clear that we've traditionally, as a country, enjoyed excellent relations with the U.S. We do have our areas of disagreement from time to time, but we share similar values. Democracy is one of them, an open society. We believe in an open society. We believe in the separation of powers. We believe in a free media. These are things that are important for us. That secondly, that this country can only have a love relationship with the U.S. because of our people. Almost half of our people live there. The U.S. opened its arms to them, and now they enjoy a great life there. And we want the U.S. to do well because our people will do well too. And they contribute here too. So that's it. And so that is the kind of relationship, but it's a relationship built around some principles. So we're not gonna, and I spoke about asymmetrical, what has happened in the past when the tensions come about, it's often because of the asymmetrical relationship. And once in Trinidad and Tobago,
You didn't speak about tensions.
yes, I said from time to time. So we do have, for example, I said this to President Obama. He asked, what can we do to improve relations? And I was speaking on behalf of CARICOM in Trinidad, so all the other heads were there. And I said, often it doesn't cost money. If the relationship could be more symmetrical, then we would improve our relationship. So for example, when we had somebody, Stanley Ming, by the way, and now that WikiLeaks is out, go to the US and say that the PPP government had given Roger Khan a large tract of land in the forest, which was a lie. They put that in one of their drug reports, but it was not true. When I approached them and said, can you remove it because it's not true? They said the report is already issued. Now, that will always be in that report forever, and it's not true because they listened at that time to a person who was part of the PNC apparatus. At that time, he was PNCR, I think, or something, reform. So that kind of thing, they could have easily verified it. Secondly, we had always called for, we said, we will help you to block drugs coming up into the US, but you help us to block the guns coming down. We've had cases where guns left JFK in barrels and came here, and fine man's sister cleared it at the airport and stuff like that. So that's the second issue. Thirdly, you remember when the Ministry of Health building was burnt down. And we had the suspects made several calls to the people, a phone call, a person in the US before and after the event, the suspects. We suspect that they had a link with someone there. We knew the name of the person who did that. So we asked for information. We didn't get the help. But just imagine the other way around. A Guyanese had contributed to the burning down of a federal building in the US, and he was living here. They would have required us to move swiftly, and had we not cooperated, you would have heard all sorts of things. That when you have more respect and symmetry in relations, then you have the tensions disappear. And those are the tensions around issues, not about the values and the principles and our friendship, but it happens every day within governments, within families, everywhere else. And so that is where we have to work at improving. And that's why I always say to the diplomatic representation, if you don't, and this is fair, to be fair to this government too, you hear something from the opposition, don't put it in your report right away. Verify it from the government side. Do your own research. And then at the end of the day, you write your own report. And similarly, if they hear something about us, they should do that. Because these reports help to influence policy making in relation not only to Guyana, but the rest of the region. We've had cases where one NGO said they put a US report out that we had over 1,000 kids removed from trafficking, from extreme child labor in Guyana. So when I saw that report from the US, one of the agencies, I called the opposition at that time, do you know about this? All the NGOs, they said no. This is a small country. If you remove 1,000 kids from extreme child labor, then we should all know. But it was part of a report, false report. Those are the kinds of things that tend to generate the occasional friction. But as on a whole, I think we have great relations. And a lot of the US companies too. Look, ExxonMobil came here under the PPP. So the tension around capital and all of that tradition and ideology of the past, those have disappeared. The PPP is the most pro-worker party in this country and also pro-private sector, pro-job creation. We're both.
Okay, sir. Another thing you mentioned in the report was that you met with the frontrunners, the prime ministerial candidates, and then you mentioned Mark Phillips' name at the bottom. Is Mark Phillips one of the main prime ministerial candidates?
I don't know if, first time I'm hearing he met with Mark Phillips.
So, but is Mark Phillips under consideration to be the prime ministerial candidate?
I explained already that the party has settled the process. And the process would include a period in which all of the civic members in parliament, plus the Prime Minister Samuel Hines and a few others, and all the Central Committee members, the 35 of them, plus the candidate members, etc., there are a few others, they will receive a letter from the executive secretary of the party that we're opening up the process for nomination for the prime ministerial candidate. Once they can then submit 1 name, 5 names, 10 names, 15 names.
No one is under consideration, right?
No. And 15 names, we have not launched the process. And once those names come in, I've outlined the process that it will follow to this election.
Okay, are any of your citizens, those citizens, experiencing any difficulties in denouncing, or are they any stumbling blocks?
I don't. Gail Teixeira yesterday, she said to me, well, I don't think it's a stumbling block. No, I don't think she has a stumbling block. And so it's the renunciation. Odinga will do so shortly.
Does he have any stumbling blocks?
It's a tough thing for people to do, but he's made the decision, so he will get it done. He's made the decision. We didn't beat him on his head. Odinga made the decision on his own. He wants to serve Guyana.
It doesn't have to file any tax returns or anything.
I don't know. I don't know about that, what it takes. Frankly speaking, I don't know because I'm not dual citizen. I don't know what it takes to renounce. Do you know of something? Someone having trouble on the other side? You know of trouble anyone? I wonder if Harmon is having trouble.
These 8 to 10,000 new houses that you promised would be built, would these be built on,
No.
would you be opening, do you plan to open?
No, these are housing schemes. So there are two things. If you look at the flyer we have put out, even before our manifesto, we said two things. We are going to do the house lots because there are lots of people who need plots of land. We're not taking away from anyone to give to these people. We'd have to develop new ones. That's one. So that's between 40 to 50,000 in the 5 years, 8 to 10,000 per year. That's one. Two, we also promise affordable financing. And then three, the state may invest itself in some units, but not, that is for small quantity of units, but mostly getting the plots of land to people at an affordable rate. So can you imagine now they're talking about going back to 92,000 because they got the people complain after they took office and they made all these promises on housing. Even the plots of land that we were selling for, like as low income, they jacked up the price. This government jacked up the price. And so a substantial part of the 8 to 10,000 per year will be at the lower end. Anything else? If not, thank you.